Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the KeenGamer podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Orr. We've got a great show for you today, as always. Today, I am joined by Noah Rosenthal, KeenGamer's resident Bethesda historian. Welcome back, Noah.
Good to be here, Jessica.
Yeah, glad to be here with you. So this week I had some pretty big news. So we're going to go through the news, including the PlayStation Plus tier overhaul, Breath of the Wild 2 getting delayed, and E3's no-show in physical or digital form this summer. And then at the end of the show, we are going to celebrate our favorite indie games or some indie game recommendations that we encourage everyone to check out or try for the first time or check it out again because they're just that good. And it was inspired by Tunic. Seeing as it's the most recent indie title to gain a lot of mainstream attention, including my attention, which brings us to what we've been playing this week. And I'll go first. I'll talk about Tunic later, but for now, I'm going to talk about Ghostwire Tokyo. I've actually finished Ghostwire Tokyo a couple of days ago. I got to code it a little bit early. I just didn't get a chance to talk about it last week. For anyone unfamiliar with it, I don't know if you knew about it beforehand, Noah, but it's Shinji Mikami's game from Tango Gameworks. They did The Evil Within, and he I can't remember if he was producer on the first one or the second Resident Evil, but like legendary Resident Evil fame, and it changes it up because it's first person now. He's used to doing third person stuff, so it's first person. What surprised me is because I got it like a little bit earlier, and I hadn't seen the previews or anything. Is that it was an open world game? No idea that was what it was. To me, it looked like a horror action game. And it's actually pretty good open world because it's the way I could describe it is like it's a bite size open world. Small in comparison to like other like Elden Ring's massive. Dying Light 2 was even pretty big. And it's got really good like collectible features, like quality of life stuff. You go to they're called Nekomata. They're like they're cats with two tails. It's like a Japanese mythology. I think they were in like Persona and all, and Shin Megami Tensei. You click on like a Japanese treasure, and it pins it on the map for you. So you know the general area where you have to go. You can pray at offering boxes, and it tells you exactly where like a Jizo statue is, where you can upgrade your powers. You can't do it all the time, but for the majority of the time, and that was so handy because collectibles in open worlds can be so hard. And all the open worlds seem to have them these days. But I really like that about it. But I wasn't a huge fan of the combat. Instead of like having weapons, you do like powers, you do signs. You've got your wind weaving, your water weaving, and your flame weaving. And they're pretty cool. They basically act like wind's your pistol, water's your shotgun, and the fire's your grenade launcher. Is the best way I could describe it. Considering how often you use these things as well. It's set in the Shibuya right region of Tokyo. So like I said, it's not a very big open map, but the problem for me is that it's very narrow. I don't know if you ever played the Yakuza games, Noah.
I haven't.
I don't know if you know them, but you're kind of like in alleyways all the time. That's basically what this is, but like at night, it's just really narrow alleyways, and in that it kind of works because you've got like it's like fast paced. It's not really about the combat in those games, but this I was just banging into everything, and there's no dodge button. And because I was coming off of Elden Ring, I was like running up the enemies and clicking B to roll and just crouching in front of them. It was not good. It's not particularly hard. It's just not the greatest combat in the world. But one thing I did really love about it is because it's set in Tokyo, it's got like all this Japanese like mythology. Like I was talking about with the Nekomata, like they're your merchants, these floating cats with two tails. But it also it tells you stuff about urban legends. Like there was an urban legend about Shibuya Station, about there being an extra level underground. It took you through that side mission. That's pretty interesting. Apparently, there's an urban legend about a ghost being on the toilet. There was a side mission of that. So it was pretty fun learning all that, learning about yokai, which is like supernatural like demon stuff. The visitors, the enemies in this are pretty cool. They all got unique like Japanese designs, like from their mythology. But it's kind of like the story, there's like no story. It's short, so I was fine that it was short. It's like 5 chapters, but the last 2 are like 2 hours maybe at the most. It was really underwhelming story, like, it was pretty bad. I was like, "Why is this even here?" The main character is called Akito. He's so boring, and I usually don't care. I'm like, "Fine, whatever." I even like Ethan Winters in Resident Evil. But he's just not that interesting. There's a guy called KK, he's kind of possessing Akito. He's a little more interesting, but a little tropey, like, "Yeah, I'm the dark detective guy." Um, but coming off of all, my general impression is I'd be excited for Ghostwire Tokyo 2. I think they've built something cool here. They just need to fix the combat a little bit because you don't even like what you're doing at the start is basically what you're going to be doing at the end. You don't get cool skill tree upgrades. It's kind of a bummer. The only cool upgrade you got was like traversal stuff where you could call. It's called a tengu. It's like a grapple. You go grapple anywhere, and it makes collecting things easier. Um, that's the only like cool upgrade I can think of in it. But if you're into like Persona games, Yakuza games, excuse me, like Shin Megami Tensei, like that sort of Japanese supernatural mythology, I really would recommend it. It's really good. If you're kind of burnt out on open worlds, it's pretty good because it's like a bite-sized open worlds, and they're really good with collectibles. But apart from that, I'd say maybe wait a wee bit. This wouldn't have been something on your radar, right? You don't have a PlayStation?
No, I don't.
Yeah. I know you liked open worlds, but it's I was like Dying Light kind of has like a sort of Bethesda feel to it. This doesn't really. So yeah, it was Ghostwire Tokyo. Kind of recommend it with a couple of caveats. Do you have any questions about Ghostwire?
Yeah, well, that does sound interesting. So it's like it's recent folklore. Like when people hear
Hmm.
Japanese folklore, and they'll tend to think of samurai and ninjas, but yeah, it's a bit of a stereotype there. But yeah, that's a great way to experience some folklore, some good stories that maybe people aren't familiar with. Like I've never heard any of those tales.
Yeah, definitely. Like I hadn't heard of any of them either. Like I can't even remember some stuff. But you're right. It was like modern stuff because you've got this mythology of these supernatural creatures, which you kind of like have to hunt for upgrades. But then you've also got this stuff about Shibuya Station, like modern folklore. So they did that really well. Um, but next, on to what you're playing. Surprise, surprise! It's a Pokemon game. You want to tell everyone which one it was?
Yep, I picked up Pokemon Emerald. Actually, here it is. Here's my DS Lite with
Oh
Pokemon
yeah,
Emerald in the Game Boy slot.
yeah. Oh god, DS lights are so good with the
Yeah,
Game Boy
like
slot.
yeah, back in the day, holding one of these things, and so I devised a plan for like a new party. I tend to plan ahead. That's just kind of the way I am. I plan
Yeah.
like, okay, here's what I want to catch. Here's the starter, and nowadays I will pick a nature and an ability, and just so I can kind of think, okay, so here's how I can optimize using this against my friends. So I picked Mudkip. I have a Swampert now, and see, I've got Swampert, a Breloom, a Magcargo, a Voltorb. Let's see what that's.
What gen is this again? Sorry, Emerald,
Gen
can't remember.
3.
Gen 3. Okay.
Yeah, and a Mightyena and a Glalie. Yeah, so I'm pretty pleased with what I've got so far. I've beaten the Pokemon League, but I'm struggling to catch the legendaries. I really forgot how tough they were. It's because Groudon. I don't remember if Kyogre does too, and I'm pretty sure Rayquaza know the move Rest. So at some random point, they'll suddenly use the move Rest and replenish all their HP.
Oh yeah, annoying. I never got that far in it to do the legendary hunt. Is it kind of like traditional? Like it's the end after the Elite Four and all ends?
Yeah, you have to go back to the Weather Institute, and then they'll tell you like there's the massive disturbance in this place, and you have to go find like a new cave that spawned there to try and catch either Groudon or Kyogre.
Yeah, like so I was telling Noah before the show, I actually forgot I played Emerald. Like I was down at my mom's house and I just found my copy. I was like, oh yeah, I had Emerald. Then I found Diamond. I was like, oh yeah, I found Diamond. But for me, they kind of they kind of merge into one because I didn't play them all too often. Is there any like unique things about Emerald that you want to go back for? Or was this more for like your Pokemon home hunt?
Well, I really liked Gen 3 just always kind of felt like home to me, like especially when those remakes came out. I spent a lot of time in Omega Ruby because it just felt like home for some reason. Really, Platinum was my first Pokemon game, but I always loved the Hoenn region just for for the cities, the people, and the Pokemon. Just always felt like overall the best Pokemon game to me.
Yeah. You're used to that one. That's the one you go back to then when you want like a comfort game.
Yeah, kind of. Just I've
Yeah.
caught so many Pokemon from that one now. It's like I've got to find some I don't have.
Yeah, exactly. So anything else with Pokemon Emerald you want to talk about?
See, yeah. Well, there's the two antagonists. One of our new authors recently wrote an article, kind of about projecting the Scarlet and Violet evil team.
Hmm.
How do you pronounce his name? It's David.
I
What?
would not ask me.
Yeah, I'll get it real quick because I want to make sure to shout him out.
Hmm.
It's
I did see it the other day.
Yeah, David Dijukius. Yeah,
He can correct us. We'll ask
yeah,
him for
so
next week.
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. Wrote this article about the evil Pokemon teams, and yeah, he did a pretty good job. There is something that I've kind of wanted to write about or do a video on for some time. It's this huge missed opportunity from Pokemon Gen 8 in the Galar region with Sword and Shield. And they have
Hmm.
this team Yell, which really
I
the
remember
past
them.
like from Gen 7 and 8, those two antagonists, it's Team Skull and then Team Yell, and they're just bad and they're gimmicky and they don't really do anything. They just come across as pointless vigilantes. And David suggested that that's kind of catering to a younger audience, but like that doesn't make it good. Like
Yeah.
yeah, so the huge opportunity they missed in Gen 8 with Team Yell is the idea is near Marley's fan base. Like they like her and spends just do this vigilante stuff to support her. But in that with that concept in the real world, the major fun thing is competing fan bases. So they missed a huge opportunity there to bring back the concept of there being multiple evil teams instead of just one, like they did in Gen 3. So I looked at that playing that game. I was like, how can a professional writer miss this? Like that like how? Like it was a great opportunity. Imagine like having your own fan base as a team and then
Yeah.
constantly competing with others.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah,
Yeah, it
because
would have
like
been
I didn't play. Well, I played Emerald, but I haven't played Gen 7. Did you say they had the two teams in it?
Gen 3 had Team Aqua and Team Magma.
Didn't even play that. I can't even remember.
Yeah.
But I think the way they get away with this is honestly no fans like me, where I just tune in and out of Pokemon. Like I'm like, okay, I'll play this Pokemon game. And I just have no idea about like the best features that they've done. Like I recently picked up Shining Pearl. I was telling you as well, I forgot I played Diamond. Picked up Shining Pearl and it was like it was I had you didn't have to have like Bidoof for cut, you know, and I was like, oh wow, you can do this. I don't have to have Bidoof in my party. So whenever they do this stuff, I'm like, yeah, it's a Pokemon game. The dirty casuals like me make it okay because we'll just buy the Pokemon game anyway if it looks decent. I'm like, oh,
Right.
this looks like it's set in Britain. Cool, I'll play this one. I had no idea they had even two teams in Gen 3. So sorry about that.
No, that's all right. That's a
Yeah.
big part of what makes it memorable. Like it was practical. Like they were just gimmicky enough for the Pokemon universe, with at the same time having a real goal and a real reason to exist.
Mhm.
Which the later ones really don't. Like I'd say that's I'd say Team Skull is probably my least favorite. Then that'd be followed by Team Yell, and I really didn't like Team Flare either. But
What gem was that?
that's Gen 6 with the Kalos region. Yeah, they were okay, but like I've explained before, like what happened with those is the Gen 6 games were actually in development. Well, I don't have sources. This is but from my friends, like so, like people get this information somehow. So somehow uh, the Gen 6 games were intended to be Gen 5, but there were like development delays with the conversion to the 3DS. So when they realized it wouldn't be ready on time, they did another Gen 5, like in the traditional no 3D style, just to get a game out on time. And a lot of what was originally intended to go into the Kalos region ended up in Gen 5, which is Unova based off of the tri state area, mainly the New York City kind of circle there. It, yeah, so well, like when people like wonder, like, so Team Plasma is like they're supposed to look like medieval knights, and these legendaries, a lot of these Pokemon, all look very, very European. A lot, and that's because, well, the theory that I'm not really sure if it's theory. I don't want to call it fact if I don't have a source. Like, yeah, that's because a lot of this stuff was intended to go into the French-inspired Kalos region, which would have been European. There's even this place in the Kalos region with statues of the Gen 5 legendaries, which may just be there from development, like because those were
Um,
intended to be the legendaries of those games and they just didn't have time to change it.
yeah, that's interesting. I did.
Yeah, really interesting information about the Pokemon games.
Yeah, and thank oh, I didn't know about any of the teams. I remember Team Yell because I played Sword and Shield, and
Yeah.
they just seemed like a punk rock like parody because it was the Galar region, you know. But yeah, Pokemon Emerald. Still searching for your Pokemon Home stuff then?
Yeah, yeah, I'm kind of waiting for the new games to be integrated into home so that I can kind of distribute my Pokemon accordingly.
Yeah, because Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond still don't have it, do they?
Yeah, and I'm very confused about why. It doesn't
Mm,
seem like that complicated a thing to do to me, but they don't. The
yeah.
Darkrai event should have launched a few days ago. I haven't gotten a chance to do it yet, but I'll probably do a guide for it.
Yeah. Oh, yep. And Noah's got a guide on the. Is it still? Can you still get that Oak's ladder?
Uh, See, I
Is
think
it?
you
Is it
should
up?
be able to. In the old days, those did have an expiration date, but I don't like looking at it. It wasn't really clear if they still will now, or if they're just treated kind of as DLCs.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you do need help, Noah's got a guide on it up on KeenGamer.
Uh-huh.
So that's Pokemon Emerald. Question mark if you'll still be playing another Pokemon game next week. But I'll just talk quickly on. I started Kirby in the Forgotten Land today. I said last year that it was kind of like it's one of my most anticipated games this year because I just wanted like an easy game to play, like not one of these massive open world games, like collectathon stuff. And I've only played about maybe 2 hours of it this morning, but it seems that it's an easy like Mario light type game. I'm very excited to get deeper in on the levels because the reviews and the general impressions of it is that it just keeps getting better. Uh, um, it's not an open world game. It kind of had a vibe like that in the trailers, but it is like that traditional Mario level by level basis, and then like areas. So I'm just in the starting area, so it kind of looks like what you've seen in trailers with like, people were calling it Last of Us Kirby with the overgrown on like shopping malls and all that. It's pretty cool. You get like bonus areas. It's kind of like a time trial thing. I love doing time travel trials, so that was good for me. I love it already, like the changing of the powers, because kind of like in my mind, I was like, well, like in any game, when you get like a weapon or a class, you're like, I'm just gonna stick to that. I'm not gonna change it up. Kirby just really like encourages you to experiment. Like you need to change up to do this thing in the environment to progress. So I'm like, may as well stick with this ice ability for a little bit. And I was like, oh, I like the ice ability. Actually, I guess I'll switch it up from the flame ability. Um, you can upgrade these, but I've just unlocked the ability to upgrade them. So I haven't done that yet. It's got really cute collectibles. I don't know if you saw like online, like Kirby's like looking at his little like collectibles. It's like those machines where you put money in and you get a little toy and a little egg. I think they're called Bobacos or something. Kirby's just looking at them. It's adorable, just all of it. It's kind of exactly what I want coming off of like Ghostwire, Dying Light, Elden Ring, just like a straight game where you don't have to like meander, and there is additional stuff you can do. Um, but I think I'll come back after and try and do like additional little challenges within the level. There's like no incentive to really do it straight off, except for just if you want to. There's like a little hub area, like I said, where you can upgrade your stuff. Apparently, it gets expanded upon later on. Like more activities, more like little Waddle Dees you can talk to. So I'm excited to keep playing it. I haven't played it for very long. I was putting it off a wee bit until I was finished with Ghostwire. I'm not going to talk about it this week, but I did get a little bit back into Elden Ring, and I know when I get frustrated with Elden Ring, I'm just going to bounce right off it and go on the Kirby. Because if Elden Ring's the hardest game you'll play like this year, Kirby is the easiest game. It's got wild mode. I talked about the demo before. It's just like a normal game. If you wanted to go on, I think it's called easy breezy mode or something like that. Is like if you're playing with a kid, you probably want to do that one. Even if you're playing with a kid on wild mode, I'd say you'd be grand. I barely lost any health so far. It's just fun. It's not like Elden Ring where you have to like strategies and level up. It's kind of like the opposite of it right now. And I think that's why it's because the demo kind of underwhelmed me a little bit. I'm like, this is a little basic and easy, but I really want basic and easy right now. And it's so charming. The looks, I've just got the first area and I know there's cool levels coming up. So I can't wait to check them out. Were you interested in getting Kirby?
Well, now I kind of am. I'm not sure that I will, but it sounds like it never occurred to me until hearing you say it. But do you think maybe Mario Odyssey was inspired by Kirby a little bit, like the concept of using the hat
Yeah.
to turn into
Yeah.
stuff? Yeah,
I thought that too.
yeah,
Because I was like, that's just Kirby's power, only you're doing that, when you take over the creature. Yeah, Kirby did it first, justice for Kirby. But yeah,
right.
that's it. You can't take on all the enemies' powers. There's like a couple of random enemies you can't. But from what I've played, I wouldn't want to recommend it straight off the bat. But I mean, it's really cool. It's like it's so weird as well. Like it's got like honestly an anime opening is the only way I can describe it. Do you know the way in the animes they have like the song that plays over it?
Yeah.
It's got that. Doesn't translate it in English. It's just like Japanese, and you see the subtitles at the bottom. It's so weird, and already I'm there for it. The weirdness. It is pretty charming and funny as well. And a surprise game. Noah's never talked about this one before. Noah, do you want to tell everyone what you've been playing?
Well, guess what? I've been playing Skyrim.
What? What's that game?
Oh, well, let me tell you in very, very much detail on that. Yeah. So yeah, I went back to do some more of the Creation Club stuff that came out last November. I found the quest located in the Radaway that rewards Dawnfang / Duskfang, which is a fan favorite weapon from Oblivion. So I was excited to see that. Like I found this list of things to do just to make sure that I do all the content. And I'm like, wow, you can get Dawnfang again. I want them to go do that. Yeah, so it was a nice little quest. You pick up some notes along the way to figure out, okay, what's happened here. So this group of mages made this deal with these criminals living in the sewers to kind of set a trap for someone they were tracking, and it didn't work out, and they ended up accidentally dividing his soul or something. I was like, all right, this is fun. I might do a guide for that. I'm not sure yet. And I did another one too. I did one that took me to this new island. I think Giants 2 for something where I had to get some ingredients to help this sick dude. That was part of this kind of it oddly set up, but yet satisfying kind of three-pronged quest based on a choice you make. You have to choose. I think it was you choose this bowl, you get nothing. You choose this one, you get fortune. You choose this one, you get power. So I just saved right there, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do all of these. And they kind of each give you a different quest that award the same thing. So I was like, okay, each one was fun enough. I was satisfied.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. How do you find them? Do you find out about them online, or is there like a featured?
Well, some I do just happen across, but I do have like a website I found that just lists all the Creation Club content that got added, just so I know it's there in case I
Hmm.
don't happen across it.
Yeah. Would you say these are like just fun little sides, or are these some of like the what's your favorite ones that you've done in the Creation Club?
My
Or
uh,
memorable ones even?
Yeah, I guess my favorite would be the Golden Saints and Dark Seducers quest that was just part of the update rather than the Creation Club. It's
Mhm.
just I loved going back to that world. Like the Shivering Isles and Oblivion is a fan favorite DLC.
Yeah. I should really like Skyrim's one of those ones where when it came out, I played, well, I mean, like everyone, just dedicated my life to it.
Yeah.
I actually never ended up completing the main story because I got like stuck on Christmas Day
Hmm,
where there was like a dragon I couldn't get past. But I mean, its
hmm.
side stuff was just incredible, and I didn't even do all of the side stuff. It was like it's like Elden Ring to me, where you just get lost, you lose hours of your life. So the fact
Yeah.
that you have this and you can keep coming in and experiencing new stuff in Skyrim is really cool.
Yeah, and it's all thanks to the contribution of the fans.
Exactly, yeah, they're keep like, I know they keep re-releasing the game, but they're keeping it going, this stuff with
Yeah.
new and interesting storylines as well, it sounds like.
That yeah, absolutely, and it's not ending anytime soon. Like when I think on a podcast with Kyle, I said, you know, it really wouldn't surprise me if Fallout 4 started getting some really good mods right about now, because it took a while for modders to really learn how to use the Skyrim engine, but now they've mastered it to the point where they're becoming professional developers for base just from people being impressed by their mods. So now that Fallout 4 has been out for a while, it really wouldn't surprise me if a lot of great mods for that game started coming out.
Yeah, I mean, it kinda mirrors, like, console generations as well, where you always get, like, some shaky stuff at the start maybe, but then by the end, you just get, like, the best of that console generation. Sounds like
Yeah,
it with these engines.
yeah, it was very interesting to me back when I was just an amateur on Bethesda.net. Like one of the interesting things I noted in one of my more successful posts was it's really odd how Bethesda really struggled with bugs with the Skyrim engine, and then Fallout 4 is much improved. There are a few pretty bad bugs, but not nearly as much. But yet the modders have the opposite issue. Like a lot of them really struggle with the Fallout 4 engine, but really have mastered
Hmm,
the Skyrim engine, which I can only attribute to, I guess, to time, or maybe Fallout's just harder to learn. I don't know.
yeah, that's weird. Hmm.
It is. It's really odd,
I'd like to, see, like, a feature on that or something, like,
right?
what's the deal with that? Like yeah, like, the way that maybe they make it is different than the way that the developers make it, like you said, like, maybe they worked out the kinks before it all,
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. Anything more about the Skyrim Creation Club before we move on?
Nope, that's all for now. But after I play it again, and I'll talk about Skyrim again, like I always do.
Yeah, I know. Every time we talk about it, I'm like, "Oh, I wanna play Skyrim," and I'm like, "Oh, there's, like,
Yeah.
a million games out right now," including the next one I'm gonna talk about, and it is Tunic. Um
Hmm.
I talked about it a little bit, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and I was about, 5 hours into it. I completed it. It didn't take me that long. Technically, I completed it twice. I got, like, the bad ending and then, like, the proper good ending. It took me about 18 hours maybe. Um, I cannot sing this game's praises enough. Like, in my head, I'm like, "What do I like more right now, Elden Ring or Tunic?" Like, that that's how good this game is. Like, the game that was getting, like, 10 out of 10s everywhere from everyone. Tunic is just incredible. It's you find I was saying before, it's like you do find items, like, in Zelda, you find, like, a hook shot or whatever, and then you can go and do this thing. You do find a couple of them in Tunic, but it is more about discovering these page manuals or manual pages, where you you discover that you've been able to do something the entire time. You just didn't know how to do it. Like, the game doesn't tell you the controls from the beginning. and coming back, you have like a starting hub area, which has amazing music. I love it. I'm going to be listening to it until the end of time. Um, it's so charming. And you come back to the hub area and you're like, oh, I've spotted that over there because the manual page told me I could do that. And then you do the thing it wants you to. I don't want to spoil it too much because it is great when you find out when you can do it. And it just opens up that like starting hub area, which seems like it's just that's an open enough area, you know. Suddenly there's secret passageways, there's secret treasures you can find, there's another secret collectible you can find. Um, and the way you solve those puzzles are also unique as well. I have found a couple of treasures on my own. You get like little hints in the manual and like a little memo page at the back. It's really cool. It's like, do you know when in manuals you got like the notes at the back where you could put your own notes on? In Tunic, it has somebody's notes already there. Like they'll have a little picture of something and like this obscure message because it's not in English. None of it's in English. It's in a made up language. And you have to work out like, wait, how do I do that? And it is so satisfying when you finally work it out on your own and you get like a treasure. Like it's not too important, but the puzzle in itself is why I keep coming back to it. One thing I didn't talk about the other time when I was here as well is the story, because I honestly didn't expect Tunic to have like there's no language. I I don't know what's going on. Sometimes people are talking to me and you get like a couple of words in English, but that's it. It does kind of have this like increasingly like dark or like foreboding atmosphere as you go on to the different levels, which you start it and it looks very much like Zelda, you know, like greenery, trees, open fields, and you kind of get like different, like you're on like a beach at one section. There was a beautiful like underground like factory, like a futuristic factory. It was my favorite part in the whole game. And it's just, I don't know if you've ever played that indie game Inside, and it was basically you were just like walking from one end to the other and the story was going on in the background. That's like what was happening in Tunic. Like if you were paying attention, you you got this major story revealed, but you could have just glossed over it because it was just happening in the background. And I put on my Twitter, I was like, I actually gasped out loud. I was like, is that what's happening? But like you could completely ignore it if you weren't paying attention. Like, you know, if you're looking away somewhere while you were running. I haven't had that in a game in like a really long time. And like this cute indie game, it's not really about the story, like had me gasp, but this like story development just in the background. And then that environment like opened up, like it was like zoomed in and then it opened up to this like grand underground sci-fi area and I could see like all this stuff happening around me. One of the best like video game moments I've had in like a really long time. Um, Another thing, because I forgot it had an invulnerability mode, so it's got like a no fail uh mode to it. Because the other thing of this, it's kind of, people have been saying like it's kind of Dark Soulsy with the boss. I don't really agree. There's like a trick to the boss, like you know in Zelda, there's a trick to the boss and you do it and then it's over. It's kind of like that with Tunic, but you have to you either work it out on your own or you find a manual page, or you can just power through it, or you can stick on a vulnerability mode and just make it a puzzle game. Like you don't need to worry about the enemies. They're kind of secondary to me, but when you treat them as a puzzle, it's pretty cool. Like there was a boss. I was like, what's wrong here? Like, why can't I do this? What's happening? And then it did something, and I realized, oh, if I stand here, it'll be fine. And I worked it out because I missed a manual page. So I didn't know the trick, and it was cool working that out and then progressing. It's the puzzles itself in it that make it really cool. And I know puzzle games are cool and working it out and everything, but even if you're not really into that, I really would, especially have a Game Pass subscription because it's free on Game Pass. Well, a part of the subscription in Game Pass. The satisfaction you get from finding out that you can do this thing that's just like a button on your controller or a couple of inputs, but you just never knew. Coming back to all these areas, getting the secrets. It also has like this isometric view where you're looking at it. If you press a button to lock on, it changes the view kind of, so you can see around a corner, and there's a whole other area around the corner. It's just a super satisfying game when you solve a puzzle like I haven't had in a lot of puzzle games, and it really made me remember. I'd say puzzle games used to be my favorite when I was younger. I used to seek them out all the time. And I think indie games have kind of taken over that space, and it got me in like a real mood to play a bunch. Like I never played Fez when it came out, and I never played The Witness, and I love puzzle games, so I'm like, I definitely want to go back and play them. But Tunic, It's a really special game, and I would put it up there with Elden Ring in my favorite this year. Like, it's that good quality. Have you played it yet? We were talking about it.
I haven't.
No,
I
I
didn't do
really
my
do
homework.
recommend it. Does it sound okay to you? Because I know you're not really a Zelda fan.
Not really. I've been playing Pokemon.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I do recommend it though. Like I said, even if you're not into this stuff, give it a go. Not forcing you, but I really do recommend it. Um, yes, so that was all the games we've been playing. So just to sum up, we had Ghostwire Tokyo, Pokemon Emerald, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Skyrim, and Skyrim Creation Club. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
And Tunic. So we're going to go on to the news, and it was actually a pretty big news week. The big one probably is the PlayStation Plus merging with PlayStation Now, and they've made the tiers. Just get up the page here. The first tier, I'm just going to go for it quickly. I know everyone probably knows what it is already. PlayStation Plus Essential, and that's basically just what PlayStation Plus is now. You get your monthly games. You get that cloud online storage, sorry, online multiplayer access, and exclusive discounts. And then there's the step, and that is in the United States, it's $9.99 monthly and $59.99 yearly. PlayStation Plus Extra adds a catalog of up to 400 PS4 and PS5 games, which I don't think was on Now before, from what I remember. And that is $14.99 monthly and $19.99 yearly dollars. And it also has what the benefits of what you got in Essentials, so that cloud storage and the 3 games that you get to keep if you have the subscription every month. And then there's PlayStation Plus Premium, which, like I said, everything you had before, but this time you have PS1 games, PS2 games, and PSP games available to download and stream, and PS3 games, but they're streaming only. And that is, oh, sorry, it has game trials as well, is the other thing. Kind of like they were doing with like Cyberpunk, they had that game trial up. It says for select games. And that's $17.99 monthly or $119.99 yearly. That's the basics of it. To me, it just sounds like because I was looking at the prices, it's the exact same price if I were to buy PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus for the year for me, is what premium is. And I have very little interest in PlayStation Now. So for me personally, I'm gonna stick with Essential unless some like old game I loved from PS1 or PS2 was put on the premium, which is a bit annoying because you'd have to go right to the premium one to get access to it, not the extra. But I guess I'm kind of an outlier, so I'd want to go back and play an old one and not one of the new ones. Because the games they mentioned, they didn't mention a lot of games with this. They mentioned that God of War would be there, Death Stranding, Returnal, Miles Morales. I was like, well, I've played them. I don't know, I've got them. So, and some of them are on PlayStation Plus already. That's just me personally. I know you don't have a PlayStation Now. If you did, would any of this be appealing to you? Would you want just the essential one, or would you want the back catalog of old games, or coming as it? If you just had a new PlayStation, do you think the extra tier would be good for you with the PS4 and PS5 games?
I think that the best one would probably be the one I'd pick. Like currently, I'm on Game Pass Ultimate, which
Hmm.
like and it's really impressive to me. Like Sony undercut Microsoft. Like their best plan's only $120, right?
There, yep, yearly. Hmm.
Yeah, so that's a lot less. That's $40. Well, is for no 60 and more.
60.
Yeah.
Does the Xbox have a yearly one? Because I've only do it monthly because I pay with Microsoft Reward points.
I looked just for reference, and I didn't see one. They just have the monthly, which would add up to about $180 a year.
Yes, you're right. That's probably, yeah. If they did a discount, it would probably. But yeah, because it's a fairly big discount when you do it yearly, and I would say with the monthly $17.99 monthly, it does not, like, that is a lot. Is 18?
It
I'm bad
is
at
like
math.
yeah, but thinking about like the way it used to be, like I would actually save money because like you'd spend 60 a year on gold membership, then you'd spend, and then to get to $180, that'd be two more games, right?
Mhm.
It would have been $60. So if you're like, you, who plays 2 games a year? I feel like most gamers would get more than that. So Game Pass would actually save money for most people.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Um,
imagining what that would save, that Sony plan.
yeah, I would highly recommend people not get the monthly with that premium one though, because it works out $216 a year
Yeah.
instead of $120 a year. So there's a huge discount. So you'd get the premium because you just want everything, like in Ultimate, like the old games and the new games, if you were to get
But
it.
I'd spring for everything and just make it worth it, which is what I do with Game Pass. Like, I see I've downloaded, I think, 2 games. Halo Infinite I have through Game Pass, and New Vegas, which I haven't really played much, but I have it there. So that's already 2 right there. So long as I'm getting a third game, to me, like it's about me making it worth it.
Exactly. You're
Yeah,
right. It's like 2 or 3 games and that's it paid for.
yeah,
And the big thing for me with this, I would 100% get premium if it had day
yeah,
one PlayStation titles on it because I Xbox is my main console as well. I have an Xbox Series X and I changed over from a PS4 because I was like, oh my god, Game Pass is just so good. You're getting
yeah.
day one Xbox exclusives and you're getting third party exclusives and you're getting indie games and you're getting EA Play and the back. But like I was like, I can't get a PS5 when all that's there. I have still spent more on PlayStation games than I have on Xbox games in like a year or two. I bought Returnal for like I think it was £60 over here. Like that's a couple months of Game Pass, and I play Game Pass games all the time. Like when Tunic dropped, I played it. I play a bunch of indie games when they come on it. Um, I played Outriders, which I wouldn't have played on. I even played a goddamn baseball game because it was on Xbox Game Pass. I have known nothing about baseball. Um, PlayStation doesn't have this for me, so that's why I'm like, why would I go for the extra tier when I've already paid for those games to play them? I think this is like targeting people who are maybe getting a new PS5. And I'm with you with the premium. Like if I was just getting that right there, I would go for premium as well to get like everything. If I didn't have the Game Pass subscription, but because I don't know the games, like I'm like I don't know if I want to pay that much for maybe a couple of PS2 games that I want to play. I would add on to this as well. They said PS3 games available via cloud streaming because
Yeah.
like that cell processor was apparently like really hard to develop for and like emulate. But
Mm.
there was a recent report from Video Game or Jeff Grubb, sorry, um, from GameSpeak saying that there's rumors that they are actually trying to make it downloadable PS3 games
Mm.
because I did use my housemates now for a little bit and I've tried playing Infamous, and it was a horrible connection, like really bad. Like for me, Xbox used to be a little bad, but they have really good cloud technology. It's improved so much. I was playing Halo Infinite over Christmas, and I was playing Forza Horizon 5 at my mom's house with like virtually no problems. Um, I'd be super interested in downloading PS3 games, definitely, especially games like Infamous, which I want to go back to and get the platinum. There's other PS3 games I played that I love to go back to, like there's Metal Gear Solid 4, which I believe isn't available anywhere but the PS3. Like you cannot play it anywhere. But one thing I wanted to ask your opinion on this as well. I don't like it. It's the same with Nintendo Switch Online. I hate that these old games are behind a paywall for streaming. Like you will never own this. It is in this subscription. Like if I wanted to buy a PS1 game, I can't do it. I have to go in this monthly or yearly subscription to play the game. Would you want to see like put them up for sale as well as on the streaming, or would that like undercut their own streaming service?
Well, of course, I'd like to see it. Like, Morrowind and Oblivion, I bought at a heavy discount because they're old games. So,
Mhm.
like obviously, like what that is it is providers trying to get money off of these games. It's the best way to still get money off of games that came out many years ago, because a lot of people own them already. So, and what you'd have to charge for them to get people to buy them would be like it's just more worth it to make them streaming exclusives. But I paid for Morrowind and Oblivion. Like I was willing to pay it.
Yeah, exactly with Nintendo as well. I've played for things multiple times. Like I paid for Wind Waker when it first came out in GameCube, and then I paid for it on the Wii. I'd do it again if it came on the Switch. I don't even care that I wouldn't get to keep it, if you get what I mean. I want it available for me to keep, especially with like not PlayStation but the Switch, because it's a console I don't think I'd really ever like give up unless there was like a Switch 2, if you get what I mean. Because it's I love the portability and all of it. So I just get kind of annoyed when this stuff is under a streaming paywall. I'm like, please just let me give you money, and I will. I'll
Yeah.
I'll subscribe to the subscription service probably, and I'll also buy the old game because I'm stupid. So yeah, that's PlayStation Plus. Are you planning on getting a PS5, or are you just willing to wait like a long time if you were to get one?
Yeah, but I likely wouldn't get one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, unless my career really started taking off and I just decided let's get all the consoles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the PlayStation news. Hopefully, that rumor about the PS3 downloadable games is solid, because from what I experienced with PlayStation Now, it was a pretty bad experience. On to the next story, which is also pretty huge, although kind of expected. E3's digital event is not going forward, and this comes a month or two after they confirmed that there was no physical E3 happening, so no conferences happening, no meetups or anything, and everyone's like, "This is it, E3's dead." But they have came out and said, seems a little bit weird. Like um, working on our resources for E3 2023. Which seems a little weird. Like
Yeah.
maybe they didn't think they could do it this year, and then they did, and then they just decided that, because you need that's a lot of organization you need with all those companies.
Mhm.
Um, do you think E3's gone for good, or do you think it will come back in 2023?
Yeah, well, it seems like they're not willing to give up yet, which I admire. I've never been to an E3 myself, but yeah, I understand their struggles. It's COVID, and a lot of companies just doing their own events now. Like a great example is the Bethesda Skyrim concert, and I want now, knowing that there's no E3. I'm really wondering if they did that because they were figuring we might not get an E3.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
so yeah, it's hard now because of things like Twitch and live streaming on YouTube. Like it's less for developers. You just do something like that, then they can send people to that conference, especially during COVID.
yeah,
But yeah, so it can be saved. There would need to be some appeal to going, like which there already is. There's all the tents, the events, and they playing games competitively at that thing. Like it's like a real Pokemon League kind of thing. Like you
I heard about that.
dress up as
Yeah,
Ash, that'd be
y-
fun.
yeah,
So like if I were them, what I'd try to do is like book celebrities like that. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that would swing people toward going. You'd get who's Henry Cavill maybe. Yeah,
like who's popular?
Henry Cavill's gonna
Yeah,
be
he
here.
definitely would. Yeah.
Yeah, uh, Larry David. Not or
I'd love to see a Larry David at
uh,
E3.
I mean that I'll go if they'll
Yeah.
book my travel and then feed me. I'll go.
Book my travel and feed me. Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. I think you're right. E3's kind of got this like sort of mainstream appeal that like these events on the internet don't. Like we hear about it because we work in the games industry,
yeah,
but like my mom knew what E3 was. It appeared on the TV every once in a while. It was this
yeah,
massive event. People paid attention to video games for a little bit. Now that's gone away, and like it seems like Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest is kind of like plugging that hole where E3 was. But
yeah.
if it's anything like last year, like I don't know about you, but when I'm trying to remember, like I forgot E3 even had a digital event last year. I remember some of Jeff Keighley's stuff because like his face was there, like I associated with it. I cannot remember what was in any of the events. I don't remember who held their own event. I don't remember if it was part of E3. Barely remember if it was part of Summer Game Fest, except if it was like the WB like oh god, I can't remember what it calls, the dome. And the like the wholesome games stream, like I loved that. Unless it was like curated like that, I can't remember it. And E3 I think was a great way to consolidate all that information at once. Like it was kind of like the busiest time in games for like a week, and then it was over.
Mhm.
It kind of feels like it's dragged over the like it's a summer games fest. It's over the entire summer. E3 used to feel like this like Christmas video games event, and now it's kind of like, oh, the Bethesda thing dropped. Okay, I guess I'll watch that
Yeah.
one. Is that the same sort of experience you had last year?
Yeah, kind of. I just didn't find myself tuned in. Like you could feel like people, like in addition to COVID, people are just losing interest in it.
Yeah, I think you're right
Uh,
as well. For us, as like I guess that's changed the way it's not consolidated into that packed week, but it kind of hasn't changed for us because like we've never been to E3. You know, we're
Yeah.
a smaller site. We've not been. We probably maybe never will now because of this. We
Mhm.
we didn't do the press meets or anything like that. It's kind of the same for us. We're just going to be reporting on what happens this summer. So it's kind of, in my opinion, it's gone out to die very slowly, like over these past few years, unfortunately, because of complications to do with the pandemic. So RIP E3. I guess we'll all be watching Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest this summer. And another massive news. I don't know if this came as a surprise to you. It kind of surprised me. I thought they'd bring it out this year. It's that not Breath of the Wild 2, actually. They haven't even called it that. It's the untitled Breath of the Wild sequel has been delayed into spring 2023. You aren't a huge Zelda fan. Did you play Breath of the Wild? Were you looking forward to this at all?
Yeah, believe it or not, I didn't play Breath of the Wild, but it's like it. Do you remember who wrote that article about open world fatigue in video games?
Oof, no, I can find it. If you wanna
Yeah,
talk, I'll find it.
can you find it real quick? Want to make sure to shout that offer out. So, yeah, that's kind of the things that this guy covered in that article. Like a lot of people are just kind of exhausted from open world, and I'm unfortunately right now I'm one of those people. Like it, yeah, like we joke about how I'm obsessed with Bethesda games, but yeah,
Mhm.
the thing is, those games take brain power. Like yeah, like a big part of the reason I tend to stick to those games is because I'm just kind of running out of the capacity to learn new worlds. So I tend to stick to
Yeah,
what I know.
you know them yeah, exactly, you know them inside and out. I do the same with, like, it's not well, I guess it's open world Mass Effect. It's like a comfort game, I'll just go and play it, I know what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's Ethan Moss, by the way, he did the article.
Yeah, it was Ethan, right? Yeah, Ethan Moss wrote this great article, and he really nailed it, like right on the money. Like it's exactly kind of like what I feel like. Yeah, I tend to repeat games over and over again because it's nice to stick to what you know and have because open world games take learning, they take brain power, but it is also nice to truly be a master of the world. Like I am a Bethesda game master, at least Todd Howard era. I guess Fallout 3, Fallout 4, maybe not as much Morrowind and Oblivion, but I'm getting there. I'll play those again. I'm getting there, and especially Skyrim, I am a master of. Like, yeah,
I
I
agree.
know those games inside and out better than anyone in the world.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't even dispute that, yeah.
Yeah, I remember one time a friend needed help with something, and I asked him like to describe like the shape of the mountains to me so I could figure out where he was. Like,
Wow.
I'm not sure if I could do that from memory now. That I was like, oh, so you're either looking for Troll's Bane or the book that spawns there. And I was
That's
like,
pretty impressive because there's a lot of
how
mountains
you
a lot
got
of
that
mountains in that
from
game.
yeah, and he's like, you got that from me describing the mountains to you. I'm like, yeah.
You're like Rain Man, but for Skyrim. So is that like you just wanna go back and revisit the open worlds that you're used to? You wouldn't wanna jump into Breath of the Wild?
I will eventually, like, especially like from what I saw there, that I was like, like they said in the article, like that I read for it. So the idea here is they had so many DLC ideas, and they decided to do a sequel. And looking at those like things in the sky, I was like, yeah, this looks exactly like something you would want to do in a DLC at adding this new dimension. But instead, it's in a sequel, and I'm like, that really does look fun. It actually reminds me of Sky Islands in One Piece. Yeah, that was the thing I was thinking, like, it's kind of like Skypiea, and it also kind of looks like those floating rocks from the Avatar movies, the James Cameron Avatar.
Yeah.
Should an Avatar 2 come
Side
out?
thing, by the way, did you predict that One Piece? Did you see that a game got announced?
Oh yeah, yeah. A game got announced. It's not
Is it anything like your
exactly.
idea?
Yeah, it's not really how I described it, but I mean, it looks good. It looks kind of like it's the kind of thing you would get on the Switch. It reminded me kind of Dragon Quest 11. Yeah.
Yeah, I did actually kind of have that same art style. I was just like, wow, what timing? I was just talking about this.
Right. Yeah. The thing that would make me hesitate there is I watched the English dub of One Piece, so I'd fear spoilers if I played that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because the English, for those who don't know, the English dub is way, way behind the Japanese.
Well, this kind of sounds like I haven't read them yet, but I bought a bunch of Witcher books. Like they're being slowly translated into English. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. You get spoilers.
Yeah.
For me with Breath of the Wild, any other year, I would have been devastated because I
Yeah.
loved Breath of the Wild. I played it for a good solid. I wasn't really playing as many games back then, so I played it for like 6 months. I just did everything I could. I got the DLC. I loved it, even though it was like a different, obviously open world Zelda game. They changed it a little bit. Um, but Starfield, like
Yeah, that's
this.
exactly what I'm thinking too.
Mhm.
Like me, I know the Starfield will become my life. Yeah, it's going to have to happen. So I've got to play Scarlet and Violet real fast before
Yeah,
I need to dedicate myself to Starfield.
yeah, because this holiday season is already so packed. You've got the Harry
Yeah.
Potter game, you've got the new Pokemon game. I can't remember if Xenoblade Chronicles got announced, but then you had Starfield,
Yeah, that's right.
and like I'm even forgetting some, and some did get delayed as well. And that's like
Yeah.
coming in from like October all the way down to December. And in my head, I was like, it's just Starfield's one of those games where like I'm just going to abandon everything and play Starfield. Like if it's a Bethesda game,
Yeah.
it's going to be huge, it's going to be massive. And if I had to pick between Breath of the Wild and Starfield, I genuinely don't know what I would have done. So
Yeah.
I might be one of the only people who's happy about this. But then this is my other thing, like spring 2021 or 2023, sorry, is gonna get really packed now. Like this got delayed, the Suicide Squad got delayed. There's been some like delays that they haven't said when they're releasing. So I hope not too many more games get delayed because if it's the same situation as this spring, my God, there was a lot of games this spring.
Yeah.
Like I've talked about this before. March 25th, 3 games I wanted to play. It was Ghostwire Tokyo, Kirby, and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and I haven't played Tiny Tina's Wonderlands because there's just too many games. One other thing about this, because there's not too much to talk about the delay, but there's been some speculation that it got delayed because it didn't say why it got delayed. They just said they're working hard on it. That it's to accompany a Switch Pro or a Switch 2, and they don't want to launch it like just a little bit, like what would have been a year after the OLED. Do you
Yeah.
think that's true? Or do you think it'll just release on old hardware?
Well, in this day and age, I'd question that because I remember before these came out, there were people spectating that these may be the last gaming consoles because of streaming, which I don't think is true now. They're like just looking at them now, I'm like, nah, these won't be the last ones. But
If not
yeah,
Switch, not in that
yeah.
hardware.
The thing is, like the Switch has done so well, though. That I just don't think they'd move on from it right away. Like, and the OLED just came out,
Mhm.
and then Nintendo. But have they ever done like sequel consoles? To me, like it's always the Wii U. Yeah, they did Wii then Wii U. That's kind of like a sequel console.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, to me, they always come up with a new shtick for their console. and said I just don't think that it'd be wise, nor do I think anyone would want to move on from the Switch yet.
Yeah, the only, like, shtick that I could
Yeah,
think of is, like, this rumor of the Switch Pro, like, just
yeah,
have maybe not even, like, 4K, but, like, a higher frame rate because, judging from, Kirby, I haven't got to those bits yet, but it's been having weird frame rate issues, and Pokemon Legends Arceus had
yeah,
horrible frame rate issues. I know Rune Factory
yeah.
5 had some, but, like, it seems to be coming to that point in it where they can't develop newer titles for it without stumbling into these issues and trying to come up with these,
Yeah, that's fair. I hadn't considered that.
yeah, no, but I agree. Saying that, I agree with you. I think it's far too soon after the OLED to
Yeah,
release a Pro. Like it would be if it was spring 2023, a year and a bit after the OLED. Like to me, that doesn't isn't where Nintendo usually does that. They do have a lot of um different
yeah,
consoles. Oh, yeah.
yeah, there it is. So yeah, while I'm thinking of it, there is a suggestion I do have for a future Switch. If
Hmm.
they could, there have been kind of like accessibility concerns with it. So so one time I tried to play the new Mario Kart with friends, and they kind of set me up. So because you see, I'm very very good at Mario Karts, and they kind of set me up to fail so they could beat me once. So
Wow.
look at this.
What?
This they gave me
Oh, you're
this.
joking.
Yep.
Okay.
So could you make these bigger, please? Nintendo? It's just yeah, it's me
Uh,
trying to hold this. So it was like
well, did you win?
no,
Ah.
no, no.
That's some compliment, though. You're too good. Take the baby controller.
Yeah, Mario Kart 8, I am pretty excellent at it. Like I told you before, I love Double Dash. Double Dash is my
Same.
Mario Kart. I'd
Mhm.
say I definitely am the very best at Mario Kart. Well, the very best in terms of my Mario Kart experience. Not the best ever. So yeah,
I'd love you need to give me your Nintendo friend code because I wanna know because 'cause I'm the best in my friend group, but
yeah,
I barely play it anymore,
yeah. I
so
haven't
I
picked
wanna
it up
know.
in a while, but
Mm,
I never. Well, I do understand that that's not really true. The thing is with the Wii Mario Karts and Mario Kart 8's now more associated with the Switch, but the
mhm.
principle kind of remains. They with the Wii Mario Kart, and they kind of ruined everyone that isn't like a hardcore gamer with the automatic steering. Now, like whenever I try to teach someone Mario Kart 8, and and I say you have to drift, like I
Yeah.
repeat it so many times because they just won't do it. Like you're going to screw up every turn if you don't have your finger on that B button, and they
Yeah.
just don't listen.
I guess we're just
And
so used to it,
right.
like, you need to drift, you need to do this
Yeah, and
if you're just picking it up.
yeah, it's weird. Like I have successfully taught a few people how to do it. Like to me, I never like I grasped the Mario Kart 8 mechanics so easily, and I've never understood why no one else can. Like I use tilt controls. Like that to me, it's not fun without the tilt controls.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I find that drifting so easy, and I just don't understand what people find so difficult to learn about it. So I always win.
Yeah. We need to have a King Gamer challenge. I
Yeah,
know Kyle's got it. We'll get me, you, and Kyle on Mario Kart.
yeah, we'll stream it.
Who do you use? Because I use freaking Baby Mario on a motorcycle, and I refuse to use anybody else.
I like using I think Tanuki Mario is it called? I
Yeah.
use that on the gold car with those sticky green rimmed wheels and the Tanuki parachute. Like
Mhm.
for me, like I started with something that was optimized for steering, but when I got good, I was like, you know what, I'm good enough to just do this with the fastest combination. And so that's what I do now.
Yeah, I've tried, I actually watched some of, like, the worlds I can't remember what they're called now, they just the competitions they do in Mario Kart, and, like, everyone was Bowser for a bit, and I'm like, "Why is everyone Bowser?" So I was like, "No, he must be good," so I'll go on and play Bowser, I'm like, "Oh, this is so slow, I can't do it, I need my tiny baby Mario."
Yeah.
So, yes, you'd want a bigger controller if there was a Switch
Well,
2 or a
I
Switch
have a
Pro.
Pro controller now, but like it what I like is using a Wii remote. I like the tilt controls.
You did like the Wii remote?
Oh yeah, I love the tilt controls. To me,
I
like
did it too. Yeah. I had
yeah,
the
like
wheel.
to me, like if we're not playing Double Dash, like why wouldn't you use the little the steering? Yes.
And then you've got like my brother who just like, no, absolutely not. I need to I need to have the controller to do
Yeah,
it.
like when people won't use the tilt controls, I'm like, well, I'll beat you with tilt controls.
Well, it's decided then.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Breath of the Wild. Me and Noah might be the only people who are excited that Breath of the Wild got delayed for different reasons, but it is coming out spring 2023, hopefully, because Zelda actually has a history of delaying further than they've said. But Breath of the Wild didn't. It did get delayed, but not further from what they said. And so the last bit of news, I'm going to hand over to Noah, and he can explain what the Skyblivion project is because he put this in the doc last week, and I found out about it, and it is awesome.
Yeah, so there's this very talented group of modders that are working on two projects right now, and they're calling themselves the Elder Scrolls Renewal Project, and they're working on something called Skywind, which is they're remaking Morrowind in the Skyrim engine to be released on PC, and they're also working on the same thing for Oblivion, which they're calling Skyblivion. And yeah, they've been doing these developer logs to show everyone what like their progress and trying to recruit people. So I watched this most recent one. Like I was already impressed, but in this most recent one, I was like, holy cow, these guys are amazing. I think this whole team will get job offers immediately after this comes out. Like yeah, and they like just remaking the physical world and the items, the people, like they've done such a great job of making it modern but still having it feel like Oblivion. Like my main concern about the project before I saw these logs, what was it's going to feel like Skyrim, but it doesn't. Like it looking at it, like it looks and feels like Oblivion.
Yeah, it
And
definitely looks. It's got that distinct, like sunny Oblivion look.
yeah, exactly. Like the simplicity in the landscape and the buildings. Like Skyrim's heavily cluttered with kind of like roughness, like the dirty people, the dirty buildings, like to go for a certain feel. But Oblivion, it didn't do any of that to go for a different feel. And they Cyrodiil's, it's refined, it's clean. There's definite like there's a like a social hierarchy kind of thing that everyone kind of strives to be at the top of, and it's conveyed well, and this team has done an excellent job recreating it. And looking at some of those weapons, like especially when they showed Umbra in detail, and it looks terrific. Like they turned this, like it. I forget kind of how it looked in Oblivion because theirs is so great. The hilt has like these skulls on it, and when it absorbs a soul, it kind of this light kind of courses through it. I'm like, holy God! Like amateurs created this. Like it wouldn't surprise me at all if Bethesda purchased their company just to purchase these products and make them official remakes because they're that terrific, at least from looking at them.
Yeah, no, I agree. That like
Yeah.
such quality, even in like the small items they were showing off, and that's why they were explaining it was taking a little while because they were putting the work into making this, like not just like a texture update or something, like fully revitalizing this world.
Yeah, exactly. And what else did I cover? There's the weapons, and yeah, and they're actively looking for volunteers still,
Yes.
especially for Skywind.
Skyblivion.com/volunteer if you have any
Yeah,
experience.
exactly. So yeah, it's curious that like it seems like Skyblivion is further along than Skywind. It just seems like more people have volunteered for that one. So yeah, so make sure to look into both, see where you can help them out. And I recall seeing they need voice actors for Skywind, so like I'm still considering applying for
Oh,
that. I'm just
do
not
it,
sure that
Ro.
my audio is good enough to record for them. But even if it's just a cameo, like
You
they
should at least
need me,
try.
yeah, and they need me to impersonate someone.
That's like your ideal job right there. Like next to working with Bethesda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so I'm very very impressed with their work, and I cannot wait to play their mods. I just hope I can get my hands on a PC in time.
Yeah, I'll have to fix my woeful laptop battery if I want to give it a
Yeah,
go. But thanks for shouting that out because I hadn't heard of it before.
yeah,
And like I said before on the show, Oblivion, I loved it on the 360, and I would
yeah.
definitely go back to it if it had this revamp. So that was Skyblivion, and that was the news. Some of the bigger stuff, and then we just wanted to shout out that Skyblivion project because it was really cool. And now we're going to go on to the main topic of the show, which is our indie game recommendations. For me, I don't know how you did it, but it's not like my favorite indie games of all time because I've talked about some of them on this show before.
Mhm.
So it's ones that I've played recently, or I just feel like people really enjoy them, and some of them are my favorite games of all time, but not all of them. And then we'll have some honorable mentions at the end because
Mhm.
there's just so many good indie games out there. So Noah, do you want to start us off with your number 3 indie game recommendation?
Yeah, I'll start us off. So this one, believe it or not, is a mobile app. Like you don't hear me saying I play this mobile game, but a lot. But yeah, this one I played a lot when I was in college. When I was like waiting for the bus or in between things, I'd whip this out to play it. It's this game it's pretty basic. It's what do you it's not like it's like a strategy game kind of based off of the old Mafia Mystery, the card game. Like if you ever played that like as an icebreaker, that yeah, people tend to just call it Mafia.
I think so. Yeah, I thought you were talking about like an actual, but yeah.
Yeah, so like it's this rotating schedule of like at night the mafia tries to kill someone, then the village votes someone out, and the idea is the village has to eliminate the mafia, and the mafia has to outnumber the village. So this app by Toast Mobile kind of does a better version of that, honestly. That works through this app where there's a whole lot of roles and different ways to win depending on your role, and you have to kind of maneuver your way through and hope you end up on the winning side. And I enjoy it so much. I still take it out sometimes.
So is it just randomly assign you the role with every game?
You can do what people call role picking, but there are certain giveaways for that. I haven't played in a little while. It used to be if you did that, it would put your name like at the top or bottom. I forget which, so people would call you out like this person role picked.
Yeah.
And yeah, so but I got called out a few times and I
Oh.
would role pick unpopular roles.
Mm.
So I was like, crap, they know it's me now.
How long does a game typically go on for?
Let's see. I'd say it may be 20 minutes, but a lot of that will really depend because let's say you're killed night one, so you're probably not going to hang out
Yeah.
in that game.
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends how long you make it a lot of times.
That sounds cool. So when did that release? Do you remember?
Uh, I'm not sure. It's got to be at least a few years old, and it's really grown, which I'm very pleased to see. That the developer is called Toast Mobile, and they're I researched them a bit, and they're primarily more like a technology service company that apparently also makes a few video games. So I'm like,
Okay.
okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That
So
that that does sound cool and that you're still playing it, so it's got, like,
yeah.
that good gameplay hook.
Yeah, and I did think of a story for this one too. So there was a camp I used to go to, and we would play this sometimes, but I never actually got to play because I was voted out first every single time.
What?
The people have always liked messing with me. I'm like the comic relief person in life, so they always voted me out first.
Well, they'll be laughing when you're voicing
Yeah,
a character in
yeah,
Bethesda.
exactly.
Okay, that is what was the name of the game? Sorry again, sorry?
Uh, Mafia Mystery. Yeah, I
Mafia
think the app
Mystery.
is just called Mafia.
And is it Android and, iOS?
Yeah, I believe it is both.
That's cool. I'm glad you picked a mobile game actually, because I was contemplating one. I haven't done it. It's in my honorable mentions. They kind of get a bad rep, but then you get like the for being like one of those you have to wait or pay money to do this. But there's so many more really cool mobile games out there that you could just look a little bit further. You don't have to pay any money, or maybe like just like 85p or something, and
Yeah.
you get this really awesome game that you're still playing. So that was number 3. My number 3. I could have put this on the what I've been playing because I've apparently just been for a massive gaming phase this past week. I've played like 6 or 7 games this week, but I put it on this because it was on Game Pass and I wanted to play it for a while. I don't know if you've ever heard of a creator called Sam Barlow. He did Her Story.
I've heard of Her Story.
So this is like not the sequel to Her Story, but the same sort of concept. It's called Telling Lies. It was on Game Pass, and I wanted to play it even before it was on Game Pass. So like it's kind of like both like Telling Lies / Her Story, and I'll tell you why. Because when I was playing Telling Lies, it's the same sort of thing as Her Story, where you're a person, you don't know who you are in Telling Lies. In Her Story, you're a detective, and in Telling Lies, you are just the only gameplay mechanic is typing in a search word, and then the entire story is played out in video clips. And these clips can range from like 30 seconds to 9 minutes. And you're only seeing one end of a conversation. So there's 4 central characters in this. There's a couple of more characters who are in the background. You see somebody's webcam when he's talking to his well, I won't give it away. The whole thing is you have to find out what's going on. You're dropped in on this. You get like a tiny little movie cutscene of somebody coming into a door, plugging in something to their computer, sitting down. They type in the word love, click enter, and 5 video clips come up. And you can see in the search result like 5 of like 32, but you can only see the first 5. So you watch them all, and you have to I should have brought my notes over. I had like physical notes. It is 2 pages just of keywords, like all down. I would not be a very organized detective. It was like going up in circles around to try and fit it on. And it's just keywords. Anything you think that's important, like, oh, they mentioned Connecticut. If I search Connecticut, if somebody else has said that, like just the word Connecticut, it will appear in the search results, but you only ever get the first 5 in chronological order. And the whole thing of Telling Lies is you're trying to work out who this person is, if he's telling the truth. And to me, the main thing you're supposed to get from this is he a good person? Or at the very least, is he not a bad person? And it was a cool game. It took me about 8 hours maybe to go through all the clips. It's 6 hours of clips, but by the time you're like, what's that keyword? They've got like this cool little solitaire mini game in the background. It's a really cool concept. It might sound a little bit boring, but if you're into like story-based narrative-driven games, I really, really recommend it. However, Telling Lies is not as interesting as Her Story. Telling Lies is trying to figure out if this guy's a good guy, which, okay, cool, HBO drama, fine. In a video game, it's not really all that interesting. Her Story is trying to figure out if this woman who's accused, sorry if I remember this wrong, it was a while I played it, but if she killed someone, you need to find out if you believe her story or not. That's why it's called Her Story, and you're the detective. And just for me, that is just inherently more interesting than is this guy a good guy? Because by about 2 hours into the footage, you kind of know what's going on. And the rest of it is just like filler. It kind of feels to me like you've watched the series premiere and you've watched the finale, and then you're just, because they're all out of order, you're just watching the stuff in the middle. And by the end, I was kind of like, I don't need to see all this. Like, you're just seeing the other end of a conversation of you already know what's been going on. But it's a super cool concept that he improved on in Telling Lies, because you kind of see, like, it's somebody sitting down and you see their reflection while they're watching the video. So it's kind of creepy when it goes to black when the video's over and you just see her sort of reflection. And it's cool that you're trying to investigate who you are as well. Like, you have no idea who you are. You have no idea why you're investigating this guy, why you need to know if he's a good guy or not, what you're doing. And they do this cool thing, because in Her Story, you kind of, all you're doing is watching the video clips and deciding if she's guilty or not. And you don't even get that decision. It's just in your head whether you've decided it or not. In this, you get like every hour in the game. So every hour of footage you've watched, I think, it gives you like a short little scene of like someone walking in the background going, oh, I'll leave you alone to whatever you're doing. At one point, a cat jumped up and it'd been meowing for an hour, and I thought it was my own cat. It was a cat in the game. They've got like funny little achievements to do with that. It kind of feels like more like you could play it as a game. Like, I told my mum about it and we were playing it a little bit. So it kind of has like, you have to get to 6 a.m. and then the game's over. You can finish it without watching all the clips. which I highly recommend because,
Hmm.
like I said, you kind of already know what's going on unless you want the achievement.
Hmm.
But while it has better mechanics, her story is just, I think it's just it's a better story. It's like a murder mystery. You're deciding whether this lady's done it or not. And while the 4 performances in Telling Lies are really good and it's got higher production value, her story is just brilliant. You're just watching this one lady talking. You don't even get to hear the detective saying the lines. And if you are a fan of narrative-based games, like, I'd give it a go. Telling Lies maybe over her story if you've got Game Pass, because it's on Game Pass. But her story is also really accessible because they're both available on mobile. You can play them on iOS or Android. Yeah. Would you be interested in playing any of them?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, recommend her story.
Hmm.
But you have Game Pass actually, so again, I'd be like, yeah, Telling Lies, and they do have very good acting in them as
Hmm.
well. And you're a Westworld fan, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
I
Well,
can't remember.
not the more recent seasons. I like the first one.
Yeah, that was the best one. I agree. It's the girl who plays Clementine. She's one of the
Ah,
actresses in it. It was cool
hmm.
seeing her in that. And he's making another one, which I'm very interested in because it is about someone going missing. I'm like, that sounds more interesting than deciding whether this guy's a good guy or not. So that was my number 3. Noah, what is your number 2 indie game recommendation?
My number 2 is going to be an old classic. I'm actually not sure I would even describe it as an indie game anymore because of how much it's grown since I played it. But but it's on my list. So it's this. It When I played it, it was an online game that you'd get through some website, and it's called Pop Tropica. Yeah, a lot of you guys might remember this. So it when I was like, I guess like fifth or sixth grade, we would play this uh, during school. That like when the teacher didn't see what was on our computer because we didn't want to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't follow my example. You should pay attention in school, kids. But it oh well, unless what's happening is really stupid, then you don't want to pay attention.
Life advice from Noah there, yeah.
Yeah.
Solid
Yeah,
advice.
so Pop Tropica is like it is more of a kids game, but it was fun. It was this, I guess, kind of this point and click style game where you'd have this two-dimensional screen and you had a little character that you could customize and you'd run around these islands trying to do like linear puzzle kind of things to advance through the storyline of a given island. Yeah, and it was so much fun. Like we would play it at school, to keep playing it at home and talk about, like, I remember we would anticipate the release date of new islands. Like so Spy Island's going to come out so soon. We'd like eagerly await this release date of like over this thing that we'd finish playing in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we'd have so much fun with it. And apparently, Pop Tropica has grown to the point that it is on consoles. So I'm like, wow, really? That's
Yeah, I'm looking at an
awesome.
image here and I see like 3DS. So it came out from
Right.
3DS as well. Like that's pretty cool. I was telling Noah before the show, I remember the name, but I was like a little bit too old to play it. But it reminded me of playing Neopets online when I was younger. Like, this really tiny thing that came like massive. And I remember hearing about Pop Tropica. Um,
Yeah. So the developer, so one of the important people that started it, believe it or not, is author Jeff Kinney, who wrote the Diary of the Wimpy Kid books. I hope I'm saying
oh,
his name right. I think it's Jeff Kinney.
did not know that.
Yeah, yeah. So and he has this company, I guess, or just volunteers called the Jeff Kinney Group that runs and makes Pop Tropica.
That's cool. You're doing a Marco Callahan today with your trivia.
Yeah.
So that's Pop Tropica. I take it. Do you ever like pop back into it, or is this just like memories of this game?
Um, During one of my high school classes, I was supposed to learn about creative writing, but it got boring, so I just kind of wrote this story about fruits like living in a tree for my project and played Pop Tropica the rest of the time. Yes.
Don't blame the video games. It's fine. Look, he does writing on the site now. It all worked out okay.
I mean, I did learn. I am a good writer. I just didn't need to pay attention.
Exactly,
Yeah, I
yeah.
wrote my fantasy story about fruits living in a tree.
And then popped off to Pop Tropica.
Yeah.
That was a cool one. I like that
Yeah.
pick. It really got my I was like, "Oh, yeah, Pop Tropica as well." Um, so I'll go on to my number 2, and this one, you might notice a common theme, is also on Game Pass, because I have a little bit of a story about why I started to play it. So it's The Forgotten City, which maybe you've heard about, Noah, because it started as a Skyrim mod.
It did, yes.
Did you ever play it?
I sure did. That
You
was
did?
the first mod that I did an amateur review for, and it really spoiled me because of how excellent it was. What's his name?
Have you
Nick Pierce.
Nick
He goes by Modern
Okay.
Storyteller. Kind of as a modder, it's all written and scripted excellently. Like it's good enough to be like a classic movie. Like this guy's an amazing writer, and want to make sure like that's really why I did the review. It wasn't occurring to me that I want to become a journalist. I did it because I wanted this guy to know how great his writing was.
I think
Then
yeah,
I got a nice career out of it. So yeah, thanks
that's
a
a good
lot, Nick
comparison.
Pierce.
Nick Pierce, yeah. He loved Skyrim so much, he did the mod, and you loved the mod so much, you came into
Yeah.
video game journalism. Yeah, it's
Uh,
have you gotten around to playing The Forgotten City yet? Or just the mod?
I haven't played the game, but yeah, I'm very familiar with the mod. I played it multiple times, so yeah, I'd want to get that. Uh, yeah, yeah, I'm not sure if that's on Game Pass.
It was, at least when I played it over
What? Yeah,
Christmas.
yeah, I might just to see what. I imagine he is a company now. There's no way he did that himself.
He did most of it himself, but he did, like, hire people. He got, like, funding from, I think it's called where is it? The Indie Fund, um,
Okay.
which g like, Tunic got stuff from the Indie Fund, and Her Story got stuff from the Indie Fund, but it was mostly him, because there's actually, I don't know if you've seen it, there was a fantastic no-clip documentary about how, The Forgotten City, got made. That's free up on YouTube if anyone wanted to see it. So anyone who's not familiar with it, because this is kind of a weird position. Noah's played the mod and not the
Yeah.
game, but I've played the game but not the mod. Um, it is, well, I guess like telling lies in Her Story, it's a narrative-driven game. There is very little combat, and in this version anyway, you can skip, like, I say combat-heavy situation. It's just like one section where you have to maybe kill some enemies, but you can totally skip it. So honestly, it's just moving your thumbstick, walking, and choosing dialogue options. But that does it a huge disservice because the way, like you said, Noah, that he tells a story,
Yeah.
it's just incredible. Like, I started playing this. I'd heard about it because it was kind of like, Game of the Year discussions were coming on, and The Forgotten City kept coming up. And I don't know if you do Microsoft Rewards on your Xbox, but it like gets you points. And one of them was play one of these 10 games, and get an achievement in it. And I saw that Forgotten City had an easy achievement from like some post on Reddit. So I downloaded it, loaded it up, got the achievement, but from the very start in the game, you're talking to somebody on like this riverbed, and it hooked me right from the start because one, I was like, why does this look like Skyrim? Because I didn't know it was a mod. I was like, it's zooming in on their faces just like it does. And two, I was like, what the hell's going on here? Who am I? Why am I here? What is the Forgotten City? So I decided to put like maybe an hour into it, and I lost like 8 hours of my life
Yeah.
that day. Were you gonna say something? Sorry.
Well, yeah, I will shed out like a
Mhm.
big part of the enjoyment with that is just how effectively he utilized the medium, like just how well he delivered you using a video game engine and an open world kind of format. Enhanced the storytelling so much. Yeah,
Yeah, because I've seen little clips in that no clip documentary of what it was, and it had like, obviously it
right.
had like Skyrim storyline, and he changed it for
Yeah,
this to be. It's cool because it's like it's Roman architecture and Roman
yeah,
stories and Roman NPCs, but you also get Greek mythology, and you get Egyptian mythology, and even more ancient than that. And the thing I love about this is basically you're investigating. So the whole conceit is you're here and you're trying to investigate who's broken the golden rule. which is like committing a crime in this god's eyes. Like if this crime gets committed, I think if like everybody dies or the whole place starts shaking. But this main guy, I can't remember his name. He's done this like spell that he can reset the day every day. So it's a time loop game. And if you break the golden rule or you see someone else go, or you don't stop someone from doing it, it repeats and nobody remembers you, but you remember everything, which sounds kind of boring because in a similar way, I played 12 minutes, which I know people have their issues with, but it's an okay game. I liked it. But my main problem with it was when you had an idea of what to do, you had to go through the whole, I need to do this first, to do this, to get that. In the Forgotten City, there's like a shortcut. I won't spoil it, but it's like really good shortcut. It makes it not boring. It means you can go like, I'll go save this person on this run through, and this can happen while I'm doing that. And then the next run through, that person can get saved because of this thing, and then you can go and you can try something else. And it's so cool because it's like it's side stories, but it's like the main story of you trying to figure out who's been. Very early on, I was like, okay, I think I know who broke it. I'll go tell this guy. No, it's not over. There's just a bunch of stuff. And I was like scared to do something because I'd break the game and it was really easy. And there's also, I don't know if this is in the mod, there's like this incredible side section. That's the bit I was saying that it tells you it's optional. You don't have to do it. Where it's kind of like it's honestly it turns into a horror game. This like little half an hour to an hour section. And it's one of the best stories I've experienced in a game, the way it was told. It was so cool. And it's weird to me that it's optional. You can just choose not to do this, and it's the best part in the game. And it's got multiple endings. So I got kind of the good ending at the end, but one thing didn't happen. So I went and reloaded it and did it again. And it's so interesting the way that story escalates from Roman architecture in a Roman city, but you've kind of got this sci-fi element of the time loop. Like, what the hell's going on here? Who are these people? Who's lying? And the way it escalates to this sort of like cosmic storytelling, it's so good. I love the storytelling. I don't know if any of that is like the same in the mod. Would you agree with that? Is there anything like really different with it?
Well, I'm not sure. The way you're describing it, it sounds about the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, and I really want to play the mod because it did got a lot of attention back when it came out. Like Kotaku was writing about it, and
Yep.
I think that's why it got funded with this indie campaign.
Yeah.
And that was on Game Pass. I hope it still is. I should have checked before this. Sorry. And yeah, like Noah said, it's mainly made by this guy called Nick Pierce, Modern Storyteller on Twitter and other places, and I think that's the game company name.
Yeah,
I
and on Bethesda.net he is Modern Storyteller.
there you go. Yeah, see, no one knows all about it. And I absolutely loved it. And thank you, Microsoft Awards, for forcing me to play this game. Because it's like the best game I played over Christmas. Noah, do you want to tell us what your number one indie game recommendation is?
Well, this is a good segue into my number one. My number one is just the Bethesda.net mods. So I made sure to write a bunch down so that I have them to shout out to developers. So yeah, for those who might not be familiar, that Skyrim and Fallout 4, but mainly Skyrim's where the quality really is. Bethesda was really one of the first companies to pioneer it integrating mods without it having to be seen as this hackerish kind of thing. They decided, you know what, people do this and it's going to happen regardless of whether or not we support it or not. So let's support it and be a part of it and see how it turns out. See what these fans can do. And there's a lot of really great mods out there for quests, just for new game mechanics, for items, and that you can get them. If you're playing on console, you need to go through Bethesda.net, which is really what I'd recommend anyway, because that's the easiest and safest way to do it. There are other services like Nexus mods that a lot of PC gamers use, but you have to be kind of tech savvy to work that. So I just go through Bethesda.net if you're going to try some. So some mods I want to shout out are Falscar, developed by Alexander J. Vilicky. The Wheels of Lull by Train Wiz or Kevin Brock, The Brotherhood of Old by Tom Tesoro, Forgotten City, which we've been talking about, by Nick Pierce or Modern Storyteller, Maids 2 Deception by Enter 77, Beyond Skyrim Bruma, which is by the Beyond Skyrim team, and they actually do more. They have a bunch more mods that just aren't available on Bethesda.net. So that, yeah, and they're very talented. The Beyond Skyrim team. If you have Nexus, you can download all of their mods from there, I think. And there's The Grey Cowl of Nocturnal by Manny GT, and Midwood Isle by Will Evans or Will 16. Yeah, so yeah, and those are all like quest mods, and they're essentially like DLCs that are made by fans.
How many do you think you've played, like, over the years?
But less than you'd think, because I tend to play like the DLC sized ones.
Oh, okay.
So I'd say 20 to 30.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good. And you're right. It's like just free DLC you're getting.
But yeah, absolutely. If a DLC that you download for free and play on your console, it's yeah, like and these guys are good. Like they're voice acted, and they have unique items. They're like it's a great way if you're a beginner to start out and get some recognition, get some experience. And it's not like someone can say no. Like if you're not hired, it's not like someone could say no, you're not hired.
Yeah.
That's how I started out. I just wanted to let Nick Pierce know how much I loved his mod, and it ended up becoming, okay, so I'm kind of an amateur journalist now, and now I'm a real journalist.
Yeah, exactly. I love that parallel. And like we were just talking about the Forgotten City, like I
Yeah,
had no idea it was a mod,
yeah,
and yet I played it and loved it. Like, look how far that came. He made his own game because of
right,
that. I really wish like more games would take advantage of this. Like, this is like a Bethesda thing, but
yeah,
how many games are getting modded now? As soon as a game
right.
hits PC, it gets modded. If there was some sort of curation like this going on, I think it would be awesome. So that is a really cool pick from Noah because basically it's like a million indie games that you can play. And
Yeah,
it's not just like we've been talking about the Forgotten City there. Like, it's not just Skyrim and Oblivion and like content. They create their own stuff and the voice acting and everything. Um On to my number one pick, which is it's one of my favorite indie games of all time. And it was just like a random buy I did on PS4. Although it originally came out in PC and like PS Vita, and now it's out on Xbox, so you can get it anywhere. It's called The Swapper, and this is going back to my previous statement that I love puzzle games. This was kind of like the last before Tunic, the last incredible puzzle game I ever played, because it's made by primarily two people. It was two students from the University of Helsinki, and like I was talking about the indie fund, this was one of the first games to get this indie fund. So it was created by like Braid and the Witness creator Jonathan Blow's a part of it, and other really cool game developers. Um, where it's a way to give them money to fund these really cool looking games without taking a bunch of money from the indie developers back. What if it's a success, or even if it's not a success? The swapper was one of these from these two university students, and the basic premise is that you don't know what's happening. You're just taken to this place. You find this piece of equipment, and it clones you. You can have up to 4 clones of you, and you have to solve puzzles by cloning yourself. And when you walk, they walk that way. But if they smack into something, they'll stop while you keep running. And the puzzles just like they escalate. Like they're okay at the beginning, and take you 30 seconds, and then maybe a minute, and then maybe 2 minutes to solve it. By the end, you're like, how the hell do I do this? And you're just staring at the screen because they have like gravity changes. You'll be on one gravity section while your clones are on another gravity section. You
yeah,
gotta try and like manipulate the mechanic to try and like climb places. You'll just constantly clone yourself in the air to try and get up and up and up. But every time, like, you have to swap consciousness to your clone or you'll die if you fall to the floor. You're killing your clones every time that you're doing this game mechanic. And it's got like this kind of ambiguous, what the hell's going on here? Like a message flashes on the screen sometimes. I still can't really remember what was going on. I played this in like 2014, I think, 2015. Um, like Tunic, this is what reminded me of the Swapper. It's just one of the best puzzle games I've played, and it has an incredible art style because usually with this stuff's 2D, like you kind of can visualize it in your head of what it's gonna be, like sort of this Metroid looking thing or maybe pixel art. This is claymation in it in certain parts in the background. So you've got this like sci-fi blue tinged worlds that you're going through while you're making these clones. And then you'll just see, like, this claymation animation in the background of this really cool thing. It's probably one of the most unique looking games, that I've played. So, while you're solving these puzzles, while you're spending ages looking at the screen trying to figure out what the hell's going on, you've got these really cool visuals in the background. Um, so it doesn't have the digital textures. It's got those art assets, and that's the swapper. I don't think I can like that's it. That's basically premise. You're cloning yourself. It has awesome look to it. Kind of an ambiguous story, and like a really small two people primarily made it, got funded, and unfortunately they're not around anymore, but the people have went on to other game companies. So
Hmm.
very interested about what the next game's going to be. Are you a puzzle game fan?
Sometimes, yeah, like if I'm looking for something, a bit more lax, and then I might go for something like that.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me. Did you play Portal?
Uh, I played that with some friends. Yeah.
It that reminds me of it because like Portal's whole thing is it's just the portals and you have to work out the puzzles, which kind of sounds boring when
Yeah.
you're saying it, but it's super satisfying when you do it. That's the swapper when you finally realize what you have to do with these four clones. It's like light bulb moment. It's awesome. Tunic reminded me a lot of that. Whenever I knew I could do something, but this is just traditionally solving puzzles. Yeah, that's the swapper. That's my number one pick for what you should do. It's unfortunately not available on the Switch because I looked for all this. Telling Lies is on the Switch. Her Story's not, but like I said, it's on mobile. And the swapper is available everywhere but current gen consoles.
Mm.
Just to recap my stuff. My number three was Telling Lies / Her Story, whatever sounds more appealing to you. Number two was The Forgotten City, and my number one was the swapper. Noah, you want to recap yours?
Yeah, my number three was the Mafia Mystery app. And number two was Pop Tropica, and my first one was the Skyrim mods.
Yeah. And I'm just going to shout out, honestly, just some honorable mentions. A mobile game I was thinking of, as I was talking about earlier on, is Threes. And again, really simple concept. You're just combining the number threes and then the number sixes and then the number 12s. And it's about, getting the highest score you can. But all the numbers have personalities. Like it's just a fun little mobile game. I've paid for it twice on Android and iOS. I love it
Mhm.
so much. You want to shout out one?
There's an online point and click game called Submachine by Matevs. How do you pronounce this? Matevs Skutnik. Yeah, it's a point and click game. It has a narrative, and yeah, it's another puzzly kind of game you can play online.
That's cool. I like yours are like indie, Noah. I like your picks because I'm like, I
Uh,
haven't heard of this.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks. I put a lot of thought into these.
Yeah. I guess another one I've talked about it before, but it is like an action puzzle game. It's Hotline Miami. Like it's awesome. It's got like an incredible like 80s inspired soundtrack and you're trying to work out the pattern of how to kill everybody to finish the level. I think it's one of the first like truly hard games I ever played. Like I wouldn't play like Bloodborne or whatever back then. But I really powered through Hotline Miami and I completed it because I loved it so much. Do you have any more you want to shout out?
That's it for me.
Yeah, no problem. Another one me and Kyle talked about was Nobody Saves the World, and it's on Game Pass.
Uh,
It was really cool. I'd recommend people check that one out. And I think that's just about gonna wrap up this week's episode. If you'd like to, you can follow me, Resi Jesse, on Twitter. And if you want to get some great breakdowns on Bethesda titles and Pokemon stuff, you can follow Nova. You can
no,
follow Noah over on his YouTube channel, The Black Rose. And if you haven't already, make sure to check out KeenGamer.com, where we have reviews, news, previews, lists, opinion pieces, all about video games. We also cover TV, movies, and tech. And if you're listening on Spotify, we'd really appreciate it if you give us 5 stars. Just that one click really helps us grow. And thank you so much if you've already done so. And if you come back next week, we'll cover all the biggest news, what we've been playing, and a brand new topic for us to explore. And until then, this has been the KeenGamer podcast from me and Noah. Goodbye.